This is the home of debate, discussion and democracy in action from across the spectrum of Australian society. This is Sky News Extra, Channel 604.
All right, well, good morning. It's terrific to be here at Virginia Farms Produce here in regional South Australia, and great to be here with my colleague Simon Birmingham, and particularly good to be here today to announce the significant increase in the number of working holidaymakers who are working in regional Australia. A big focus of our government's immigration program is delivering immigration to the areas of regional Australia where it is most needed. And there are many of those places around the country in regional and rural Australia, in agricultural industries, and nowhere more so than here in South Australia. And what we've seen in 2018-19 is a 20% increase in the number of working holidaymakers who have been given a second-year visa, and they got that visa because they worked and committed to working in regional Australia. And that's really important for our farming communities, and it's good for our, not only for the employers, but of course for the surrounding towns, and given the money that those working holidaymakers spend when they're working in regional Australia. Across our migration program, there are a range of different initiatives we've put in place to encourage regional migration. This year there will be 23,000 visas under the permanent skilled program for people who commit to living and working in regional Australia for 3 years. Who'll then be eligible for permanent residency. And we've also got 7 designated area migration agreements, or DARMAs, which acknowledge the fact that different parts of regional Australia have different immigration needs. And one of the places where we've just recently kicked off a DARMA is regional Australia. So we've reduced the total amount of our permanent migration program, reflecting the very significant population pressures in Sydney and Melbourne in particular, but we're providing more opportunities for regional migration, and this increase in working holidaymakers working in regional Australia is a good thing. I expect that to continue. This year, we're introducing a new option for working holidaymakers, where if they, in their second year, they work in regional Australia for 6 months, they can then be eligible for a third year to work in Australia. And that's, again, about backing regional Australia and regional businesses like this one to access the workforce that they need. Simon.
Thanks, David, and thank you so much for coming to South Australia today for this announcement in relation to the success of the Working Holidaymaker program. Working holidaymakers are real win-win-win outcomes for Australia, because you get working holidaymakers in businesses like Virginia Farm Produce doing jobs and filling skills that they struggle to find local employees to do. They go out then and they spend their wages in local communities, as all tourists and travellers do, but they're also contributing to produce that drives and supplies not just our local economy, but exports out to the world. And that's the great thing about a program like this. It helps to drive and sustain our domestic economy, our tourism industry, and our export markets. You get working holidaymakers who are individuals who come to Australia with their savings, and while they're here, they spend their savings, they spend the money they earn in businesses like this, and they often message home to mum or dad and ask for more money to spend while they're here too. And that's the great story for our tourism industry. Estimates project that working holidaymakers contribute more than $3 billion to Australia's tourism industry, because they're working and spending and travelling their way around Australia at the time. And the work that David has done as part of our government in terms of reforming programs like this to really target them into the areas of jobs need in regional Australia, so that we end up with more people working to pick our fresh produce that is so popular around the world. And to hear from a business like Virginia Farm Produce just how they are working to grow export markets into the Asian region, into the Middle East, and the success that they're enjoying, which is bringing more dollars back to Australia, and part of the reason why as a country we're enjoying such a prolonged period of trade surpluses. We want to keep backing these businesses to grow their exports, to grow our tourism industry, because that means more jobs overall for more Australians. Any questions?
Mr. Coleman, farmers argue that backpackers are an inefficient labour solution. So why can't you create an agriculture-specific visa for people who want to travel to Australia to work on farm?
Well, we have lots of different visa options for agriculture, and I think this farm and many others around Australia would tell you that working holiday makers can actually be incredibly valuable employees. And we've also, of course, recently created the 7 designated area migration agreements that are about helping regional Australia to fill job vacancies. We have one in regional South Australia, which includes the agriculture industry. We have one in Warrnambool in that region around the dairy industry and meat processing. Arana in central west New South Wales, where there are gaps in the labour market in farming and so on. So through a range of different programs, so whether it's Dharmas, whether it's the skilled program, whether it's working holiday makers, and indeed the seasonal worker program, of course, where last year we had over 12,000 people come from Pacific nations to work on farms, particularly during the picking season, the harvest season, when you do need people, often for a short period of time. And so the immigration program can supplement the domestic workforce where workers aren't available, and we're seeing through the increase in numbers like the Working Holiday Maker program, the program addressing those issues.
Migration officials are concerned that this increase doesn't necessarily address safety concerns for backpackers. Of course, here in South Australia there was a terrible case of a backpacker who was raped while working on an Indian farm. What changes to safety are being made to ensure that people who do come to Australia on these working holiday visas can have a safe and productive time?
Sure. Well, look, through Project Cadena, Operation Baton Run and various other programs in the Department of Home Affairs, we work very closely on this issue to ensure that people who are have working holiday makers in their businesses are doing the right thing. And of course, the vast majority of businesses do the right thing and create great opportunities for backpackers, like we see here at Virginia Farms. But there have been some examples of people doing the wrong thing, and we've had over more than 500 operations in relation to specific individuals. We had 89 people recently under Operation Baton Run who had their visas cancelled because of inappropriate conduct in relation to labour hire and so on. And of course, at the more serious end of the spectrum, when people, if there are allegations of criminal behaviour, then that's absolutely a matter for the police and should be reported to the police and be prosecuted. And in addition, Minister Porter, in his role as Minister for Industrial Relations, has announced the intention of the government to criminalise a number of offences in relation particularly to underpayment of workers and so on. So across Home Affairs, across Fair Work Ombudsman, we've put significantly more resources in, an additional $50 million, and across industrial relations, there's a range of actions we're taking, but we do need to bear in mind that the vast majority of employers do the right thing and create great opportunities for backpackers.
The stats show that these issues are increasing, so is enough being done?
Well, as I said, we're doing a huge amount through Project Cadena, through Operation Baton Run, through the efforts of Minister Porter in relation to criminalising offences of underpayment of workers, and any criminal behaviour is of course treated extremely seriously, and anyone who is breaking the law of Australia is subject to very serious penalties, and we continue through Home Affairs, through the additional $50 million that we put into the Fair Work Ombudsman to assess and investigate these issues and take action where people are doing the wrong thing.
There are many areas of global uncertainty and of global economic uncertainty. And that's why we continue to build resilience across the Australian economy wherever we can. The budget we